What's up, guys? I'm Ryan with Ryan Epps Fishing. Back with you today. We're going to talk crankbaits today. Another small body crankbait. You may or may not have heard of it. Regardless, I bet you don't throw it enough. It is the Bomber Model 6A. I'm going to tell you everything that you ever wanted to know about a Bomber Model 6A.
We're going to help you put some fish in the boat today.
Talk about this action. To me, let's base it off of a bandit. You know, you've seen me throw a bandit a lot. You know how much I like a bandit, and you're pretty familiar with the action of a bandit by now. It's got, you know, that bandit has got a fairly wide wobble to it. This bait does not. This bait has got a tighter side-to-side wobble than a bandit. But what makes this bait unique is the bill. It's got a pointed, you know, unique kind of heart-shaped bill to it, and the body. It's got a slender body. It's still 2 inches, but it's got a slender body. And what happens is when you're retrieving this bait, if you watch it, you can see that this bait not only has the side-to-side wobble, but it's also got a little bit of side-to-side roll to it. And that gives it a really unique action that I like, and it's something that the fish don't see a ton of. So when am I going to throw this bait? Let's say I started out with a bandit. Let's say that we're in the fall. It's getting just a little bit cooler outside. The water temps are dipping down, and I feel like, especially the largemouth, have turned off just a little bit, and I need something a little more subtle. That's when I'm going to go to this. Another situation would be if there is a big small body crankbait bite and everybody's out there throwing the bandits and the Strike King 3XDs and the fish have really got conditioned to them, then that's another situation that I'm going to go to this Bomber Model 6A. It's a lot more subtle. Like I say, it's not as a popular crankbait as the bandit or the Strike King, and just that little bit different action, that little bit different wobble can really be effective. There's been a lot of times that I've been able to go down the bank behind people throwing other small body crankbaits, and I've went right behind them and was able to catch fish that they left behind on this bait right here. This is a very situational crankbait to me. This is not something that I go out there and you know, I'm going to tie on first thing. You know, this is something that the bite on a bandit or a Strike King, something like that, something's just not right. It's going to lead me to pick one of these up if I feel like I need to tone everything down just a little bit. Now, it don't have a tight wobble. It's a very moderate, medium wobble. So this is the bait that I would go to before I go to my flat-sided baits. It's a good intermediate crankbait. And just a little bit different than what those bass are used to seeing, and that can pay off really big for you. Sound is another big deal here. When we're talking about toning everything down, you've got the real loud rattles. Strike King 3XD has got a pretty loud rattle to it. This has got a one-knocker sound. It's got a ball bearing, but it's not a loud sound. It is a one-knocker, but it's a subtle one-knocker. So even the rattle system in here is toned down just a little bit to match the action. I really like that. It's a good sound. It's not going to spook fish that are conditioned to seeing a lot of crankbaits. And that's another thing that can pay off big for you. You got to pay attention to the action, pay attention to the sound, and just everything being toned down a little bit with this bait can really get you a few extra bites on pressured fish. Let's talk about hooks. These baits come stock with number 6 hooks. I change them all out, every single one of them. I'll change them out. This is a Mustad number 6. I stay with the same size, number 6 Mustad KVD triple grip. This is the 1 time strong, 2 time short shank. I like the shorter shank on my small body crankbaits. Kind of helps them come through that cover better. I like to tuck the bend of the hooks in closer to the body of the bait. The biggest reason that I change all these hooks, no question about it, on these bombers, and I hate to bash somebody too bad, but the hooks that come on here, you can see them right there. You can always tell these hooks, they'll be a little bit bronze. These are the Excalibur TX3 hooks. Like I say, I hate to bash somebody too bad, but these are probably some of the most garbage hooks I have ever seen on a big name brand crankbait before in my life. I got them right here. I'll show you just how good they are. There. Yep. Do not throw these hooks. I'm going to save you a whole lot of heartache. Look there. Whole lot of heartache and frustration. Now, these were brand new. I pulled these off and just threw them in a box over there. I got a whole box of them. They are junk beyond all reason. And what kills me is they advertise them. They got them right here. Now let's take a look on the back here. The Bomber Model A crankbait features ultra sharp Excalibur TX3 hooks. All right. Some words of advice for Bomber here. Number one, don't put a shitty hook on a crankbait. Number two, if you are going to put a shitty hook on a crankbait, don't go advertising that you're doing it. That's insane to me. Do not throw these hooks. The great thing about these baits is they don't break the bank when you buy them. Okay, you can get this bait. A lot of these come out of clearance bins. I mean, this ain't a very wide, popular bait. So I can find a lot of these in clearance bins and stuff, $3, $4, but you can get a brand new one for $5.50, which is a pretty good price for a crankbait. I would pay more for this bait though if they would put a better hook on it. It wouldn't bother me at all. That is a garbage hook. Don't ever take that hook out on the lake and throw it. You're going to possibly lose the fish of a lifetime because of a total junk hook. So switch those hooks out. Like I say, I like the Mustad KVD triple grips on there. Stay with number 6. It don't really matter. Get your favorite hook and put it on there. I've also got, if I want to throw a round bend, I like the VMC short shanks on there too. That Gamakatsu G Finesse hook is another great option. But change the hooks out. That'll help you tremendously with this bait. All right, guys, let's talk about color. Now, it's no different with these and anything else. Get you some shad patterns, get you some crawl patterns, and get you some shock colors, some chartreuses, some oranges, some, bright colors. But let's start off with the spring. This is a color that I love. Really early pre-spawn. It's deadly on smallmouth. It's a great pre-spawn bait. I don't know why, but it seems like when I'm throwing crawl colors in the springtime of the year, I get away from the reds, the brown and reds, and I go more to the red chartreuses or the brown chartreuses. I don't know why, I'm assuming there's a change with the crawdads there, but they seem to bite those colors better. We have a little bit muddy water usually that time of year, so the chartreuses, they really stand out. I'm not even sure if they really make this color anymore. This is one of my favorite colors. I know if they don't make this anymore, they make one very similar to it. But this is a great color. This is usually a color that I'll start out throwing mid-March around here up to the beginning of April. There's a couple week period there that this brown chartreuse really shines. I like to throw that. I'll also mix in during that time and into the 1st of April, I'll mix in some red chartreuse. That's another good springtime color. If we get a lot of muddy water, get a lot of rain and the water muddies up, you can't beat a fire tiger. That color really stands out in muddy water. It's a great color, legendary color. It's been around since before I was born. And there's been a lot of fish caught on that color right there. So I always make sure I got me at least one of those. I don't throw it a whole lot. It's very situational to me. But the fire tiger does stand out in the right conditions. You know, going on to once the spawn gets through, we move on to post spawn, and there's still a lot of fish that are cruising around the shallows. That's the point that I'm going to go over to some of my bluegill colors. I'm going to start throwing some shad colors in there. You don't need to go crazy with it. Just get you some shad colors that are pretty simple. That's a pearl, kind of a bone color. It's a really good shad imitator right there. Hard to beat the black back, silver gray side. A little bit of stained water. I'll start throwing a little bit of chartreuse in there. It's another good option right there. Just get you some shad colors. Throw in a couple bluegill colors when you're targeting those bass that are still hanging around up there in the shallows. Once they get done spawning, you're going to have males up there that are still guarding fry. And that's when I'll still target those areas with this bomber. But I'll just change my colors up and I go from crawdad to bluegill and shad. Fall. This is, without a doubt, my favorite color in this series. This is their chartreuse. I believe this is called chartreuse fox shad. Foxy shad, something like that. It's basically it's very similar to Strike King's chartreuse sexy shad. This color right here is outstanding. It shines in the fall. I throw it a lot here on Douglas in the fall. When the fish get up shallow, they chase after those shad. You get in there like fall feed. A lot of times you have a little bit stained water. This color right here really shines. So I always have a few of those for the fall. It's a great color. They make all kinds of colors. They do make an all red with some orange crawl color. I would show you that. Unfortunately, that crankbait that I got in that color, it went through the washer and dryer the other day. So I am still picking it out of the wad of clothes that it got those Mustad triple grips all tangled up in. Here's another one right here. That's I ain't sure why I bought that one. That's about the ugliest crankbait I've ever seen. But sometimes something's just so ugly, you just say, I gotta have it. I don't know what they were trying to do there. Looks like, I guarantee that was a Friday they come up with that color. Anyway, get you a few colors and they'll work for you.
You know, guys, if there's a downside to this bait right here, it's diving depth. Now, this Bomber Model 6A, it's advertised to dive down to 8 foot. And you can get it down there to 8 foot. I wish that they made a model that would hit a 12-foot range in this same size 2-inch body. Unfortunately, they don't. When you go up to the Model 7A, the body's a little bit bigger. That's their little bit deeper diver. It's just not the same. But it is what it is. For that reason, though, that's why you'll see me throw this bait right here more so than any other of the small body crankbaits. You'll see me throwing it on a spinning setup. The reason I do that is I can put this bait on 8-pound test fluorocarbon and I can get it just a hair deeper than I could on a bait casting setup. It's not 100% ideal. I don't necessarily like throwing the crankbaits on a spinning setup, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get it down there where you need it to be. But if you want to throw it on a bait caster, you can throw it on 10-pound fluorocarbon. I really wouldn't go any more than that. If you're wanting to get it down there to 8 foot, you need to be throwing 10-pound fluorocarbon. You know, if you're fishing up really shallow and you're using it in place of some of your square bills, then you could go up on the line a little bit. But if you're wanting to hit 8 foot, I'd stick with the 10-pound fluorocarbon. You know the rig that I throw these things on. It is a 7'6" Ducket Ghost, as long as I don't break it on the ceiling. Might make it a 7-footer. 7'6" Ducket Ghost, medium heavy. You want a rod with these light, small body crankbaits. You want a rod that has got a really good parabolic bend to it. Now the Duckett's a medium heavy, is going to be more so like a medium in regards to a lot of your other brands. So keep that in mind if you go to buy a Duckett. This would be the equivalent of like a 7'6" medium in a lot of other stuff. But Duckett, 7'6" medium heavy crank and stick. As far as the reels, this one right here is Abu Garcia Revo SX. Doesn't really matter what you throw. Just keep in mind when you get used to a gear ratio, you know, I stick with it. I started out throwing these small body crankbaits on a 6-to-1 gear ratio reel, and that is 90% of the time what I use on these small body crankbaits. You know, they don't wear you out. They ain't got a lot of pull on them, so you don't have to worry about getting wore out throwing them. I do put my Revo winch on here sometimes when it's really cold, or if I just need to slow myself down. That's a 5-to-1 gear ratio reel, and it works out well if you need to slow yourself down. But 90% of the time, it's a 6-to-1 gear ratio reel. I know some people that crank with a little bit faster. I've tried. It just messes up the whole feel for me. It's not what I'm used to. So next time you're out there, guys, give the Bomber Model 6A a try. You might be surprised what you can put in the boat with it. It's a great little crankbait. Get out there and throw it and get you a little confidence in it. And I know for a fact that some days out there it will help you put a few more fish in the boat. But that's all I got for y'all today, guys. If you like the videos, make sure you go hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit that notification bell. If you got any questions or comments for me, please feel free to leave those in the comment section down below. Until next time, y'all make some time, get out there on the water and catch you a few. I'm Ryan Epps. Y'all have a good one.